Obsessive. I'm Jay Rohr, and today we have the writers, the directors, the fabulous performers of an upcoming erotic thriller called BIGHT. Please introduce yourselves.
My name's Maiara Walsh, director, actor, co-writer, producer, artist. We all have a lot of hats.
Decided to wear one of mine today. I'm Mark Hapka, actor, producer, music supervisor, all the stuff. Indie filmmaker,
Editor.
editor, yeah, that
Hmm.
too. Indie filmmaking.
And my name is Cameron Cowperthwaite, and I am one of the actors, co-writers, producers, and editors on BIGHT.
And I have to go after that. And I'm Maya Stojan, and I'm an actor, period. Uh,
I never know whether to start with you, Maya, or end with you.
no, it's fine. It's fine. I love it. I love it. I'm humbled.
Actor, muse, badass. You got
Incredible
other titles
actress.
too.
Oh my God.
So let us know, give us a general idea. What is BIGHT? What is it about?
Cameron, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. In the most simplistic way, without giving too much away, it's a dark exploration of an open relationship that devolves over the course of one evening while a artist does his best to expose the truth of what's been going on with these two couples. And I think we sort of play on a lot of themes of, revenge. There's some catharsis, artistry, depression, love, and it all kind of expands upon itself in this 90-minute lean and mean erotic thriller.
Anybody want to expand on that, or
I think you did pretty well, Cam.
I
I
think
mean,
it was
thought that
pretty
was
solid. Yeah,
Great.
that was off the
yeah.
cuff, maybe.
Just a wild ride of artists with bruised egos and lust and love and drama and that's
yeah,
it.
I like to call it a beautiful nightmare.
it is indeed. It's a fabulous looking film. I really appreciate like a lot of the visual elements of it. But we'll come back to that. Where did the idea for this come from?
Well, to set the stage, when it was written in lockdown. And so that was 2020. And I'd been wanting to write with Cameron for a long time. And I really wanted to also write Mark an incredible role because he's such a great actor. And I just hadn't seen him play a role that he could like really dive into that was this dark. Um, so yeah, I called up Cameron and I was like, hey, now that we're stuck in our homes, do we have the time and the energy to make this happen? And then, yeah, we were like, what can we write with four characters in one location that we can control so that we know that we'll actually make this film, even if Cameron didn't think that we would make the film.
I definitely didn't.
Which he will tell you.
I was as surprised as everybody else, I think.
Well, that's interesting because that was going to be my next question. Like, how difficult was it shopping this around to people?
Before
Um,
or after?
Probably, well, both. I mean, I'm assuming you all have sort of like a relationship together. That's how you all sort of ended up in the project. So,
yeah, Mayada is our captain and also our kind of through line between the other three of us because I knew Mark was my roommate. Maya had worked together, but none of us knew each other outside of her. We all kind of leapt in, trusting her.
It was
Trust.
a leap of faith, a leap in trust.
Yeah.
I so appreciate you guys for trusting because that's a big ask, because indie filmmaking is really, really hard and takes so much time and energy. Like we had no idea how many years and how much, of our own personal funds and emotions and everything that would go into it. So it was a journey, and I'm grateful that we decided to stick it out and come up with what we came up with.
Yeah,
well,
with all of the
especially,
hard,
oh,
sorry, go ahead.
please, no,
I was just saying,
please.
with all of the hardships that indie filmmaking provides in general and obstacles and just nightmare scenarios, the one silver lining though is that like you get to kind of do it your way, right? Even if you don't have the resources you would typically want, you get to do it without permission. So to answer your question on the shopping it around, like we didn't really have to shop it to anyone in the beginning because we weren't looking for permission, right? We were just going to make this movie, and the only people we had to shop it to were the people that we collaborated with and getting them on board with the vision and the passion of getting it done. And we were able to do that, and we're very lucky with the people that we ended up with in our corner because it's the reason why it looks, sounds, and feels the way it is, and is performed the way it is, right? Because everyone involved in this brought some form of their own expression and definitely brought all their talents. And boy, was everyone talented.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of like darkness in this material. Was there ever like a hesitancy like to like were there ever moments where you're like we should go further or we've gone too far and you had to scale things back?
Wow, I don't even know how to answer that.
We're all good gauges for that, I guess. Some would push further, some like everyone kept everyone in line, I feel like. Because like
Yeah,
some people
yeah,
are not too
exactly.
afraid to go too far, and some people are like, we should take it easy. Then we're like, we should, I guess, consider the commerciality of this a little bit, but like also fuck it. I don't know.
We wanted
What
it
do
to
you,
Yeah.
be like a palatable experience, like we wanted to feel visceral, but at the end of the day, like we still knew like we had to entertain people. So
Yeah.
I think it was like trying to do this tastefully in a way that like was provocative and added the allure without sort of alienating people away from the film because we really wanted people to buy in and dive in, I think. So yeah, as Mark kind of said, I think we were all sort of like, is this too much? I don't like, but it's so weird when you're shooting it, you're so run and gun and you're like, I think we got it, moving on, like on to the next
Yeah.
scene. It wasn't until you get the chance to kind of sit down and watch it where you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you made a good point with the tasteful aspect of it, right? Like this is not a Gaspar No film. It could have been pushed further, but there were choices made to not, to feel that that would have been like an unnecessary layer. Even though I do love Gaspar No, it's just like that's not the film we were setting out to make. And I think there is something just really beautiful and sensual about the shots and what was built. And I think that was definitely important to us.
yeah, I think giving credit to everybody here, I think we did a really good job at really just like deciding what does the movie want to be and what does it want, and not really being like, oh, how can we show off or how can we push the boundaries or how can we like things outside of an organic unfolding of story, right? Like it's like this really wants this, and maybe there are moments where we could have pushed it further and we were a little afraid, but it's I think that everyone did a really good job at just letting it unfold and be what it
And I
wanted
mean,
through every
kudos
process.
to you and Cam for the edit because I mean that's really where the story came alive. It was amazing. We just had our premiere, so we got to watch it on the big screen with an audience full of people, and I was so blown away just by I'd seen the film a million times, but seeing it with everybody, the appreciation I had for the score and the edit and the performances, it was all even more elevated than I had remembered it, and seeing people's reactions to it, it was, I mean, a pretty unforgettable night. So yeah, hats off to you too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'm curious, like how much from your own like personal experiences were used in putting together not only the characters but like the story itself. Because there are some moments in this, like the car ride at the beginning on the way to the party. I've been in that car ride where like your relationship is coming to an end.
Yes.
And just like that experience, like there was an authenticity to it, even especially like Mark's character, Sebastian. If I'm remembering the name correctly, but faces, not names. Or
Oh, you got
I
it.
remember
Right.
faces
Nailed it.
better than names. But in any event, his character, I have met that person too many times
I
in
think
my
we all
life.
have,
So
yeah.
like, where
Yeah.
was like the line between reality and fiction?
We're glad that came across. Thank you. Yeah. That all started with the script, right? That just started with putting real scenarios in there. And I think we've all been in Hollywood long enough, LA long enough that we've definitely met these characters. And, like Cam said, slightly cathartic to be able to express them and kind of bring them to life because, there's a slight bit of mocking that you want to do for some of these guys because they're just such all assholes in the best
Yeah.
way, right? And that's
They're
what makes
not
it
good people,
interesting.
like none of them.
No,
You
they
know, they're
want to
they're like
be,
weak
but yeah.
characters in which I find pretty fascinating. I don't really feel like any of them are heroes, you
Yeah.
know. So and usually like in a, normal unfolding of a film, there's like someone that you're really rooting for, like hero characters. And I feel like our characters are uh, based off of not specific people, but real people that we've again encountered,
Or
met.
just the dark
Um,
side of people, right? The dark side of people's egos and all that. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's
yeah.
that's what you're rooting for. But go ahead.
And then, oh, I was just gonna say, and then, I've been, many people have been cheated on. I've been cheated on before, and it was kind of like pushing that boundary of like, what is it that we want to do when we get cheated on, right? You want to get that person back, and we'll live out stuff in our fantasies, but like we will, like at least for me, I would never do that in real life. So like creating that
Yeah,
scene in
me
which
either.
so
No,
so
no
that scene
spoilers.
definitely came from kind of this feeling of like, oh, what would that payback moment be? And then the shock of the reality of like, oh my God, what did we just do? Like, how could we possibly have done that? So,
Hmm.
that I like playing, we liked playing with like the fantasy versus the nightmare reality.
Mm.
Hmm.
I was curious about how much certain elements are like scripted because there are a lot of like really wonderful subtle moments, little like performance uh, choices, I guess, on occasion. Like Maya has some fantastic facial expressions on occasion, reacting to people talking about stuff, especially Mark. Like when he'll be pontificating about the nature of food, and you just see the way she rolls her eyes, like subtly in the background. You're like, there's so much expressed by your various characters without even talking. So how much of that is in the script, and how much of that was performers making choices?
I think a lot of that was one of the most interesting parts of editing. I'd never edited a film before. So, as an actor, I think most actors would agree. You shoot something, you hope you don't get cut out. You have no clue if you've been cut out. You get an invitation to a premiere, Maya, for a movie you've never seen. And we all kind of sit there a lot of the time, unless it's amazing, and go, that's the take they used? Like it's an odd we only ever see 10% of the 100% that the actors do. And sitting there in the edit and watching everybody's take after take after take, it became so difficult to make a choice of like, well, everybody's doing such a good job. I think we had the best problem in the world, which was too many options. And it was also quite fascinating that, before action and after cut, when the cameras were still rolling, Mark and I probably stole, I don't know what, 20, maybe
So many,
20,
so many
20,
looks or
20,
glances.
25 looks where the actors didn't even,
They were disarmed. Yeah.
they were disarmed and not even in the scene. And they were asked a question. You can see them kind of like turn their head. And we used that in the film because there was this raw presence. And it was just such a fascinating experience to kind of build these arcs and navigate these through lines because everybody was just so grounded and brought their A game every single take. It was really hard. It was a really hard thing to build out, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was it like for you, Maya? Because we had so much rehearsal
I'm just,
time too,
I'm
right?
just so fascinated. I'm just listening attentively because I'm learning so much. Just hearing you guys, I had no idea, for instance, that was, the process in editing. And honestly, I haven't looked back on the script in 5 years. But the way I came to the premiere, I felt like they chose the best moments, and that's all I can say. I wouldn't remember, wouldn't know what happened. I was so present. I remember that. I was so present with this character, and I felt like everyone was so present with who they were being, that it felt so effortless in a way, as difficult as these characters were. Um, And not that I'm anything, I believe, like Naomi, but we all have that, that part of any of these characters I could relate to in some way. So yeah, I mean, it was just written so good. Like the writing is just so amazing. And the editing just did it justice, I feel.
Yeah, we would get locked up. And Maya, you were so good. Mark and I would get locked up. Like, man, what do we do? Like, we got to figure out the scene.
What do we
Sit there.
choose?
We
Is
would
just
sit there and we just go. We just cut to Maya.
yeah. Honestly, another silver lining to indie filmmaking and your actors being your producers and also being your editors is that like we get to protect the performances, right? So like we know in that moment, like Cam and I would be looking at each other, Sebastian's rolling off on this bullshit, and in that moment we're like, dude, what is Naomi think of this right now? And we'd sure enough go to her footage in that moment and we're like, oh yes, this is where we want to see what she's thinking right now in this moment. And Maya is just such a fantastic listener that like it's no like through that whole thing, even when she's not speaking, there's just so much being volumes are being said with her eyes, with her micro expressions, like you brought up. And that's as we all know is the foundation of great acting is the ability to listen and be present. And that's kind of great. And everyone in that scene especially was so very present. And I think that is why it was such a success.
This isn't your first time as a director, correct? You've done a short film called, I think, Young Blood
Mhm.
back around 2019. And there's sort of there's a bit of an exponential leap in the quality of the visual dynamics there. Was that like part of your ambition when you were going forward with this was to like flex that muscle, like to get that going? Because there is a lot of like clever stylization in this film that you sometimes don't see in indie films because for budget reasons or whatever, a lot of the shots end up being very static. People put a camera there and they just record. But you have a lot of dynamic moments like that. How intentional was that? Like, what was
Very
your thought
intentional. I mean,
process?
we did a lot of pre-visualization with the cinematographer Petros. And we got to use this program called Cinetracer because I was also going to be in the project. So I wanted to make sure that we had as much setup as possible beforehand. I mean, and also just like the location itself had to be a character. And because this was a place that, Mark and I know very well, it was easier because I had so much time to spend in each room and visualizing different shots. But all that to say, I mean, even I appreciate the compliment, but like I had three oneers that I had made for the project, and we cut into all of them. Then like none of them worked completely as they were, and we didn't have a budget or time to like really be able to get it exactly how it needed to be. And thankfully we had other producers, actors, directors on the set to be like, let's get this close-up shot, just in case that doesn't work. And thankfully we did. But yeah, I personally love films that like move and are dynamic and have interesting shots. And I felt like, especially because this is such a contained project and story, we needed to feel the movement. There was one scene in particular with Mark and I where it's kind of spinning around us right before we see Naomi and Atticus in the other room, and I wanted to feel like what does it feel like to be in Charlie's perspective now? Like her head is literally spinning, like on drugs, trying to figure out what's going on. So I tried to mirror what everyone was feeling inside through the movement of the camera.
Yeah.
And it works. It comes across.
So
And I say this a lot, Maya. Those wonders, the way that they were designed with the coverage, though, are why it feels so dynamic. Because like we're now cutting into motion, right? And suddenly, like if you think of that opening scene coming up the stairs, those are still wonders. They just maybe ended a little sooner
Yeah,
than you wanted them to,
sooner
right?
than
Like it
anticipated.
lasts that entire walk from the car up the steps into the place, and then all of a sudden, but that cutaway down to the whiskey being poured, like that's why it feels like we're floating through this scene with everyone because of those anticipated shots that now we're able to be cut into at given moments.
Mhm.
So kudos on that.
Thank you.
Was there anything in the film? There's always something that's got to get cut for any variety of reasons. Was there anything that didn't make it into the movie that you wish you had been able to include?
think we used
Use everything.
It
actually,
was
you
really
know
good.
what's
I think there were
crazy?
3 pieces of dialogue that weren't used in the gallery scene. Like that's it. And I don't
Mm,
miss those because they
the
weren't,
the
necessary.
reverse is actually true, oddly. There's a moment that in the midst of all the chaos we didn't have, which was
Hmm.
Sebastian's decision
Well, careful.
well, I'm not going to
Yeah.
spoil anything, but Sebastian's decision to kind of take action,
Yeah.
for lack of a better word. And there's a dynamic moment between the characters and their own perspectives waiting for this decision to be made that we built out of a bunch of different
Existing
scene
footage. Yeah.
coverage.
Because in the hustle and bustle, we didn't manage to capture that moment. And when we got in the edit, we're like, oh no, this jumps straight from, you know, gas mask to this moment. And we're like, where's that deciding factor? And it was something we had just forgotten to get on the day. Because it's, we're
And
shooting within
the
10, 13
craziest
days.
part is even seeing it back, I have to remind myself that it wasn't perfectly planned because it's just we had it. We just had to go and find it and stitch it together. But it's such an interesting reversal to building something and having it exist in a space that felt so purposeful. I almost forget that it was there the whole time.
And a great use of alternate takes that we would have loved to make the movie, and they made it just in a different way.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Considering the fact that there's a lot of like dark moments in this film, there's one, and I don't want to spoil anything, but like there's one scene in particular where a character is basically realizing things are going in a dark direction, like things are going off the rails in the instant. It's like in that moment. How do you as performers like get to that place, but also keep yourselves like safe psychologically so you're not abusing yourselves with the emotions that you have to go through?
I mean, I'll speak for myself, but I think we lived with these characters for so long, and you normally don't get this much rehearsal time that for me, I did feel completely overtaken by my character. I felt like I was her by the end of it, and it actually took me a little bit of time afterwards to be able to kind of like wash her off and wash off the other characters as well.
Yes. I
We did
second that.
we did like a reshoot day and we had to kind of put the clothes back on, or for me, like the glasses back on, and I put it back on. I remember being like,
Oh
oh,
no.
this does not feel good.
Luckily, none of us are method actors in this particular thing because I don't think that would go well in this type of subject matter. We're able to like, and also we're all wearing so many hats that in between scenes, like we're forced to just jump in, then put out some fires on production, and then just jump back in. So there's not much time to like think about it or live in it. But that doesn't mean that it didn't linger. It definitely lingered. There was a day there there's a scene where we have some sage in a room and we have our crew in there and our actors and we're all in this confined space with sage burning and it stirred some shit up, which
I
all
kept saying it awoken some demons.
Oh
it
man.
it stirred some shit up
Yep.
for sure. Like everyone was feeling it, and of course, no matter how fake it is, like when you have some like brutal dialogue and action kind of taking place, and people are witnessing it, like your body sometimes is like it still feels dangerous, even though we know that it's not really happening, and it still feels, you start to feel the way that these characters are feeling, and we had scripties that were talking about how they were having like
Dreams.
nightmares
They were having
like bad dreams
nightmares.
after because of like
Yeah.
performances and just witnessing things and yeah that you can't escape that,
Yeah.
but that's why I think luckily there's no method actors because that would be atrocious.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh
God Jared Leto was not in this movie. I'm just gonna say that.
Well, I guess then the big question is where are people going to be able to enjoy this erotic thriller?
Well,
February
we're going to
10th.
have our pre-order link available on the 3rd or 4th of February. It releases on the 10th. And as you know, indie filmmakers, it is so important for us to have audience members purchased during the pre-order window, because that is what's going to allow this movie to be seen by more people. So yeah, that'll be what, the 3rd or the 4th, right, guys?
Yeah, around the 4th, our link will go
Yeah.
live, and then all those orders will, hit the bill on the 10th, just in time for Valentine's Day. It's a perfect Valentine's movie for your couples. Watch it with your ex, make that phone call. Who cares? Make the exception. That's bad advice. Don't do that. But yeah, so February
Yeah,
10th, it'll
sit
be
down with your
available.
parents.
Yes. Stay with your parents and your kids, and just make some popcorn and
Question
fuck
your
your
life
life. Yeah,
decisions.
exactly. Question your life decisions. But yeah, February 10th is the short answer of your question.
All right. And what do you all have planned for the future?
I mean, I think all of us are working on personal projects. I have 2 other features that I've written that are ready to go that I'd like to make next. I'm in the middle of writing a novel, and yeah, I never stop, and I don't think anyone in this group ever stops, which is incredible. I can't wait to see what everyone makes next.
Yeah. Cameron's got a couple of other movies coming out as well, right, Cam?
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
got
the
I've
Asylum.
got some other indies that are hopefully going to make this same journey from like you filmed it a couple years ago, almost to the point of forgetting it existed, and then you get these texts from people that are like, "Hey, this is going to come out this time or this year or whatever." So I'm hopeful that that kind of comes to fruition because I have a couple other indies that I'm passionate about that, similar to this, a labor of love with a lot of great people. So I hope these all see the light of day.
I have another feature that actually Cameron's in as well. I cast Cameron in because he's just so great. And this feature is a complete polar opposite of BIGHT. Complete polar, like Midwestern comedy, feel good type thing, which this is not. And that'll be out in April. Hopefully we'll have a nice little theatrical release on that. And currently shooting another one that is the bane of my existence, but also very, very grateful for and passionate about. We bite off more than we can chew as filmmakers because we don't know anything better. We apparently love banging our head against walls. So yeah, I'm excited to see what everyone else does after this. I'm excited to see what this does out in the world too.
Maya?
I am currently producing a rom-com and wrote it as well, co-wrote it. And then I also am writing something else, an autobiography. So
Are you acting in the rom-com?
yes, I
Yes, let's go.
Another slight departure from BIGHT, right?
yes, totally different character.
Well, you all probably need a palate cleanser after the experience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but also I think we all had a wonderful experience in a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah, this this exists as despite the film being so dark, I think sometimes for me when the film is dark, the set is fun, because you have to do something. Like, I think your system kind of clicks into this, and there was a lot of laughing and a lot of good memories that came out of some of this crazy. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad that it wasn't a horribly traumatizing experience as it was watching it.
You're welcome.
It's an interesting film. I was captivated in ways that were uncomfortable. So,
fantastic.
yeah.
Perfect.
But otherwise, thank you so much for your time. I know you all have to rush off and do other things. So thank you again very much for indulging us.
And thank you so much for doing this.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Thank you for asking
Yes,
great
No
questions.
problem.
Really
Thank you.
appreciate you.
Yeah, great questions. You
absolutely.
did amazing.
Yes, I
It was so
agree.
great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Best of luck with the film.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.